right in the kisser.
Hey, how the devil are you? Why are you order? So what have we got today? Check this out. I think this is in 1980. 1980, I think it came out. An Akai, or Akai, and the model number is CS M01A. Tape deck, single tape deck, 2-head. Now this is part of my hi-fi haul, where I was donated to the channel a lot of vintage sort of 80s and 90s hi-fi equipment. I'll put a link to that video here if you want to watch it. Now, I've not had a lot to do with Akai. In the 80s, I don't know, it may be different for some, but most people, once they got into a certain manufacturer, that's the one they tended to stick with. Like I was a Pioneer guy, I like my Pioneer stuff, so I tended to stick with Pioneer. And I think a lot of people were like that. Obviously there's some exceptions to the rule. Whether it's right or wrong, that's another matter. But people tended to stick with what they knew. But I never had a lot to do with Akai. Now, they were quite popular in the 70s and 80s. I think they were founded in the 1940s. But I think when they started becoming successful in the 70s and 80s and into the 90s, in the 80s, they started making VHS recorders and players. But they came to a sticky end because in 2000, they went into receivership. I think they went into bankruptcy because the chairman, James Ting, okay, embezzled $800 million out of the company. What? That's 25 years ago. He went into hiding, but he finally got caught and sentenced to 8 years in prison. Only served a year though. No one knows where he is at the moment, I don't think. And I'd do a year in prison for $800 million. Easy. It'd be like, yeah, bring it on. You know, I don't know if he had to pay any of the money back. I doubt it very much. But I have to say that they made some very attractive looking equipment. I don't know how good it was because I never used it, but it looked pretty cool. I think they were very good at making it look attractive. You know, reel-to-reels, amplifiers. And if anyone has ever used Akai equipment or amplifiers from the 70s or 80s or even 90s, let me know what you thought about it. Was it good? Was it bad? I don't know. Be good to know. Anyway, let's bring you in for a closer look at this tape deck. And here it is. Woo! Right. Okay. I have to say, like I said earlier, the Akai stuff does look pretty cool. It looks the part, doesn't it? However, everything on it is all plastic. It's got a metal case on here. We'll have a look at the back. There's a wooden bit on the back. But everything's plastic. Everything's all plastic. And even though these buttons all look nice, it's a little bit clunky. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm sure there probably was a soft open and close on that. That's probably gone, right? But everything's just a bit clunky. It works fine. It works well. So it's a testament to the quality of it. But everything's just a little bit plasticky and clunky, I think. Like it's got a tape counter here. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start on here. We got the power, right? Stop, record, play, eject, the normal stuff. Now, if you want to record on this, it's not one-touch record because obviously you've got the push-down buttons here. It's not like the electronic ones, you just push once and whatever. So to record, you have to press play and record it at the same time, and that'll record. I haven't got it turned on yet. See, it's all clunky, innit? Then you've got your tape counter there. That works fine, brilliantly, and there's no glass cover on it though. You've got your timer here. Headphone socket, unfortunately, it's only working on one channel, the headphone, but you only really use them for monitoring your tape recordings, I suppose. It does have normal bias, CR02 and metal. Now it's worth noting that this is the A model. There is a CSM01 without the A on, and that doesn't have metal on it. And also this one has a better tape head than the M01 model. So this is a Sendust head, I think it says there, yeah, Sendust, which is ferrite. That tends to be harder wearing, longer lasting, as opposed to the Perma alloy head, which is on the CSM01. So this one is a slightly better model. So if you do intend to get looking for one of these secondhand, get the one with the A on, a little bit better. Then you've got your Dolby noise reduction. It's Dolby B, not Dolby C or S or anything. It's 1980. But you can have it off completely, then you can have it on, and also the filter on. I believe this is a 19 kilohertz filter. So if you're recording off FM, it cuts out that hiss. I think that's what it's for. Or you can, if you're recording off a record, you could flick it up, and that's just Dolby noise reduction, Dolby B. Gotta say, I'm not a fan of Dolby, to be fair. I think it dulls the sound quite a bit. Dolby S was a lot better, but that didn't come out till the 90s. Dolby B and C, meh, I don't know. I think I prefer the sound of it with it off, anyway. And then we come to the VU meters. Now, I do like the look of the VU meters. They're not as practical as the LEDs you get on more modern tape decks. It's much easier to set the record levels on the LED ones than it is on these ones, but these look a lot cooler. These are side lit though. I don't know if you can see with the light on it. Let me see if I can. There you go. You can just about see. Let me turn the light down so you can see. There you go. So they're side lit, but they still look pretty cool. Let's see if I can play something now. Let's have a look. So you can see them in action. They're a little bit all over the place. But it's still nice to see. Then we got your mic in, left and right, and then your record level here, and then you can set the balance at the back and hold that and change the balance there, just like that. Let's turn it off. Okay, let's have a little look around the back. Okay, on the back, not a lot to see. There you go. So you've got your line in, right and left, your line out. But slightly different to some of the other tape decks I've had, you've got a DIN as well. So obviously they must have used DIN back then. And you can flick back and forth with this little switch here. Can you see it there? Okay, and you can flick back and forth. So that goes over the DIN, and then you flick it back and that goes over to the line. Now I did have a little bit of crackling on it, and I wondered what's going on. And it was this button here was making it crackle. And all I did was spray a bit of contact spray on there, little spray here, wiggled it back and forth, and that resolved the issue, and I was fine then. Now I have to say that the heads and the record head and the pinch roller and all that, knowing the guy who gave me this equipment, he does repair and restore equipment, I would imagine that he's put probably new parts in it, cleaned all the heads, cleaned the record head, because everything was really clean inside, and it looks like it's all some of the stuff is being replaced in it. I'll take a picture and show you here now. Okay, so it looks pretty cool, but they have cheaped out a bit on the materials of the casing. I think so. But does that mean they've spent more on the internal components? Well, there's only one thing for it, isn't it? Sound test. Sound test. A sound test. You know it. Oh, I love a sound test. So I'm going to put it up against my Marantz SD57. That's a sort of late 90s tape deck. Very decent two-head single tape deck. I tend to use that a lot as my reference tape deck from back then and compare other tape decks to it. And so far, I haven't had many tape decks through, to be fair, but every tape deck I've had through isn't as good as the Marantz SD57. So let's see what this 1980 Akai can do. Have a listen to this. So what do you think of that? Oh, I wonder. Right, let's pop that in there. I think the Marantz was better. I do think the Marantz was better. I did use a normal bias tape. I didn't use Dolby. Kept that off because, right, on both of them. I didn't use Dolby at all and used a normal bias tape. Probably would have got a bit of a better recording if I used a chrome tape or something, a Type 2 or a metal. But I decided to stick with a normal bias for now. But in saying that, I think they both did very well. They both recorded pretty good. And considering this is probably 15, maybe even probably 15 to 20 years older than the Marantz, I thought it performed really well. It had, I think the bass on it was a lot better, a lot more present. However, compared to the Marantz was a bit brighter, a bit more open. The top end was slightly better on the Marantz. But apart from that, I don't think there's a huge amount of difference. And you can always kind of overcome that sort of darker sort of sound of the Akai using tone controls. So I don't know. I think it performed pretty good and it does look cool. So I do think they spent a bit of time on the internal components and thought we need to save some money and make this all plastic and a bit clunky. But there we are. Let me know what you think in the comments section. If you got to this point in the video and you haven't subscribed, come on. It's mad. It was 90%. I've got it down to 87% now. So 87% of people who watch this channel are not subscribed. What the deuce? Come on, fill your boots, hit that subscribe button, you'll do me a massive favour. You can always unsubscribe later on if you hate me, okay? Might not take long. Anyway, I will catch you in the next one.